Hey boys, it's HarmNone. Today we're going to be going over the 10 best armed planes in Grand Theft Auto Online. Now for a plane to get onto this list, it has to be good at either dogfighting or be a really useful plane to have in Grand Theft Auto Online for grinding or just getting around, anything of the sort. Obviously, if a vehicle is good at more things, it is going to place higher on this list. Anyway guys, if you enjoyed the video, like is of course appreciated. Let's shoot for 5,000 likes on this video. Subscribe to my channel if you guys are new. We're going for 300k this year. Let's go ahead and get started with number 10. At number 10, I put the Tula on this list because I think it's a pretty unique plane. Now it goes for $3,075,000 if you have the trade price for it. Now if you don't, it is going to go for $4,100,000. This thing is really interesting because it's a propeller plane, but it has VTOL mode, which is very, very unique. You don't really see that very often. The pilot gets access to a front-mounted machine gun, and if you have another player in the vehicle with you, they get access to a rear-mounted machine gun. This thing is slow as shit, but it is also able to land in water, which I think is a pretty cool feature and does open up some opportunities for how this thing can be useful. For example, if you're doing a CEO cargo mission where the crates spawn out in the water, the Tula could be useful because you can go and land in the water to pick up the crates, and then take off again and go and deliver them, and use VTOL mode to land and take off. Overall, it's pretty cool. I think it's a unique plane. It's really cool looking. It's based off of an old World War II era bomber plane, which is pretty sick. I think they actually used these to spot U-boats and submarines throughout World War II, which is pretty cool. Overall, it's a decent plane. Definitely look into getting one if you're interested. At number 9, we have the Ultralight, coming in at $500,000 if you got the trade price. If not, it's going to be $665,000. This thing's cheap, and it's a single-seater that offers stealth capabilities with the carbon prop upgrade, which is pretty unique. When you're not on the accelerator, when you're flying the ultralight, and you have the carbon prop upgrade, you will disappear from the radar entirely, which is very unique. There's not many planes in the game that have stealth mode, so this is a very unique feature. Now it also has a mounted machine gun that deals an insane amount of damage. The thing is quite slow and it is quite weak, but it is very fun and it is very good for stealth, particularly if you're flying it at nighttime and you paint it in a darker color. This thing's going to be pretty insane. Overall, it's a very fun vehicle. I would definitely look into this one if you've never had one before. Next up at number 8, we have the P-45 Nakota, the first fighter plane on this list, coming in at $1,995,000 if you got the trade price. If not, it's going to run you $2,653,350. So a little bit on the steeper side. This is based off of one of the coolest fighter planes from World War II though, the P-51 Mustang. The Nakota isn't the best plane overall, but it does have mounted machine guns that don't really deal very much damage. However, it does have homing missiles and non-homing missiles, which are decent. Unfortunately, it can't carry any bombs and it's only a single-seater, which is quite a shame. But overall, it's a really cool looking plane and I think it is kind of worth the money. I think they priced it pretty fairly, especially if you can get it for the trade price. Overall, it's a decent plane, it looks really cool, and the customization is pretty decent. I would look into it if you guys are interested, especially if you're interested in older World War II planes. At number 7, we have the V-65 Molotov, coming in at $3,600,000 to $4,788,000. The Molotov is an interesting plane based heavily off of the MiG-15 or 17. It's got elements of both, and it is a fighter jet. However, it does lack maneuverability, which is crucial for aerial combat and dogfighting. And especially in GTA Online, you're going to need that. It does have front-mounted machine guns as well as homing missiles. However, the maneuverability of the plane is so bad that it's even hard to take out police helicopters with this vehicle, I found, which does kind of suck. The MGs might as well shoot Tic Tacs as well, however the homing missiles are actually pretty decent. Overall, it is a really cool plane, but you'd be hard pressed to win any dogfights with it, but it is quite fast in a straight line, I will give it that. However, I do think that this thing is quite overpriced. Such a cool looking plane, it's just a shame that the performance couldn't back up the looks. Next up at number 6, we have the Hydra, coming in at $3 million if you got the trade price. However, if you don't, it's going to be $4 million. Previously, this was the best jet in GTA Online for everyday tasks, primarily due to the fact that it has VTOL mode, which is a rarity in GTA Online. Prior to the Hydra coming out, there were no VTOLs in the entire game. However, it also used to have easily the best explosive cannons in Grand Theft Auto Online, but they have since been nerfed, which does completely suck, and it has nerfed the Hydra's overall abilities by a long shot. Now it does also have homing and non-homing missiles, which are pretty great. They're decent enough, and it's also formerly the fastest plane in Grand Theft Auto Online, but it can reach insane speeds if you manage to pull off the Hydra speed glitch. Now Look that up if you're interested. I'm not going to teach you how to do it in this video, but overall, very cool plane, very cool looking plane. Definitely a good one if you're in 2014. However, in 2024, not so much. Next up at number 5, we have the Rogue, coming in at $1,200,000 to $1,596,000. The Rogue is based off of 3 planes that I've never heard of. However, this plane is unique in the fact that it's the only 2-seater on this list that's within the fighter plane category. Obviously, the Tula has 2 seats at least. It actually has more, in fact. This is pretty cool though, because you can transport another player into battle with you and they can just jump out whenever they're done in the plane and get into battle, and you can support them from the air, which is pretty cool. The Rogue has optional dual explosive cannons, as well as homing and non-homing missiles, but it also gets access to bombs that the pilot can drop, which is super useful. It's easily one of the most maneuverable planes in Grand Theft Auto Online, making it a pretty excellent dogfighter. You'd be hard-pressed to beat a Rogue in a dogfight unless you have some of the planes that are coming up ahead on this list. This thing is crazy though, and for the amount of money that it costs, it is a no-brainer to buy this one. At number 4, we have the P996 Laser, coming in at $6.5 million. The classic GTA 5 jet. The P996 Laser is stealable from Fort Zancudo, which is how I would recommend getting one. If you choose to purchase one, it'll cost you $6,500,000, which is a complete ripoff because it's not even the best jet in GTA Online anymore. The Laser is very similar to the Hydra. It has similar acceleration and the exact same explosive cannon with the exact same nerf that made it way worse, as well as the same homing and non-homing missiles. It's basically just a reskin, except the Hydra is less maneuverable. And unfortunately, the P996 Laser also does not have VTOL mode, which the Hydra does. Overall, it's a great plane to steal if you're a lower level or even a higher level. You should never really spend your money on it though, like I did. It's a cool plane, looks awesome, the maneuverability is great, but underneath, it's not really worth the $6.5 million, so I would definitely not recommend paying that. At number 3, we have the Pyro, coming in at $3,350,000, or $4,455,500. Easily a top 2 dogfighter in Grand Theft Auto Online. This thing is pretty incredible for fighting other planes, and as far as targets on the ground go, it's a little worse, but it can still be good enough with practice. For me as a person who hasn't really flown it very much, it was a little hard to get used to, especially with race handling equipped. Race handling makes this thing very, very maneuverable, maybe even a little too maneuverable. But it's easy to see why people absolutely love it for dogfighting. This thing turns on a dime, it's crazy. It has machine guns and homing missiles, both of which are alright. They're kind of similar to the Nakoda and the Molotov, but in a much better performing package overall, because this thing is a jet and it's a lot more maneuverable than the Molotov, for example. Overall, quite a cool plane. Definitely look into this one if you're interested in dogfighting. Number 2, we have the B-11 Strike Force, coming in at $3,800,000. Probably the 3rd or 4th best dogfighter in Grand Theft Auto Online, but also easily one of the best overall planes in the game. The B-11 is pretty okay for dogfighting, but it is probably the most competent plane for fighting ground targets. It has a very rich arsenal, the biggest of any plane in Grand Theft Auto Online. It has fully spammable homing missiles, a 7-missile barrage that shoots in very rapid succession, and an explosive autocannon that sounds just like the Thunderbolt 2, but unfortunately does far less damage than its real-life counterpart. It has all of this while also being extremely maneuverable, and it also has access to bombs, which is pretty crazy. And it also has the most drastic difference in low altitude speed versus high altitude speed in GTA Online, traveling very slowly near the ground to give you time to line up your shot with your target, but also being very, very quick as you gain elevation in it. Overall, it's a really cool plane and is probably one of the best overall planes in the entire game if you're looking for something that can dogfight as well as take out ground targets. The B-11 Strike Force is awesome, and it's also got a ton of armor. Definitely a cool one, definitely one I would recommend. Next up we have our honorable mention, or in this case our dishonorable mention. We have the LF-22 Starling up next, coming in at $2,750,000 to $3,657,500. The Starling is a decent plane, perhaps even the best dogfighter in Grand Theft Auto Online. However, as I'm sure they will prove in the comment section, it has by far the most annoying community of any aerial vehicle in GTA Online. These people are just a plague on society when it comes to airplanes in GTA Online. They will go on and on about the LF-22 Starling. You can say something about, man, I really like how the Hydra has VTOL mode and it's pretty fast and everything. They'll say, well, a Starling will still beat in a dogfight. Okay, who asked? No one asked. You can be talking about you just like a plane of, well, Starling's better, bro. Starling's better, it's way more maneuverable, beat it in dogfight. And it's like, dude, not everything's about dogfighting. These people are completely irrational. However, I will say, it does have a rocket booster, which is kind of cool. You can choose to have it on or off, and it'll boost the plane, which is kind of interesting. It also has front-mounted machine guns and homing missiles. Its turning circle is what gives it such strength in dogfights. However, if you do use it, there is an extremely high probability that you are a geek. So, do be warned. And at number 1, we have the F-160 Raiju, coming in at $5,141,250 if you got the trade price. Now, if you don't, it's going to run you $6,855,000, making it the most expensive plane in Grand Theft Auto Online. However, it is the best overall plane in GTA Online. It has toggleable stealth mode, which is really, really cool, similar to the Akula helicopter, if you guys are familiar with that. It also has homing and non-homing missiles, explosive cannons, as well as a VTOL mode. So it kind of replaces the Hydra in that aspect, but it also has stealth mode, and it's far more maneuverable, and the acceleration is way, way better. Now, the reason I put it at number 1 isn't because I'm just some Raiju nerd and I don't like the Starling or whatever. That's probably what the Starling guys are going to say in the comments. It's number 1 because of its overall usability in Grand Theft Auto Online, right as I said at the start of the video, Starling nerds. It's great, if not decent, at every single aspect in the game when it comes to an aerial vehicle. It can get you around the map faster than most other planes in the entire game, while also being able to land super quickly because the VTOL is super maneuverable on this thing, and it slows you down enough to let you really maneuver around to where you want to be, but then you can also get it going quite fast as well. The VTOL mode is also quite usable when you're engaging other players, which is pretty cool too, as well as having stealth mode. Being able to get away from people and get across the map without anybody knowing where you are is crazy, while also having some of the best acceleration for a plane in the game. Like, this thing is insane in every single way. The explosive cannon isn't the greatest thing ever, but it still does enough damage to take out most things pretty easily, and the homing and non-homing missiles are also pretty awesome. The only thing that I wish that it had would be bombs, but honestly, if it had bombs, it'd probably be so OP. Overall, it's a really cool plane, and you guys should definitely own one. There you have it, guys. That has been my list for the top 10 best armed planes in Grand Theft Auto Online. If you enjoyed the video, a like is of course appreciated. Dislike if you're a Starling nerd. Comment a 7 down below if you made it to the end of the video. Subscribe to my channel if you guys are new and you want to see more content like this, and I will see you all in the next video. Until then, take care. Peace.